right, everybody. We have a very special guest on here named Al Santariga. I know I didn't pronounce that right.
Now
You
you
want
get
to
you were real close. Santariga. Yeah, absolutely.
Santariga? I mean, I've listened to, like I said, I've listened to you on a Bigfoot Society podcast, and just last night for the first time, because I didn't know you was also on Vic Cundiff's show as well, and I just listened to that last night. I heard you pronounce your name them two times. I was like, I can't believe I didn't get it right still.
Yeah, I was talking to Vic just yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, we
Oh
stay
wow,
close. Yeah, me and Vic, we're pretty close.
that's amazing. Okay, Al, if you would like, you could give a introduction of yourself and just tell what everybody what you're really into. I know you're also part of the MUFON Mutual UFO Network as well too. So you've done a lot of research I know for over the years, and you're very educated when it comes to this field stuff. So if you would like, you could tell everybody about yourself and however you want to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a brief bio on myself. Absolutely. My name is Al Santariga. I'm the founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, the director of the New York State UFO Project, the director of the New York State Sasquatch Organization, director of the New York State Dogman Project. Um, I'm a member of the New York State MUFON chapter. I former director of the NADP, North American Dogman Project, New York State chapter, and former Region 3 director for the NADP. And, I wear a lot of hats. Got into this subject via family. My mother was a psychic, and my brother was one of the first parapsychologists in the United States. And, he always had like a library worth of books in his room on every aspect of the paranormal. So when he was done reading them, I got to read them, and it's just the paranormal, is normal in my family. I didn't realize it was paranormal until I started talking about it with my friends. I got old until I got older, and then they will just look at me side eyed and say, like, "Dude, that's not normal to have that stuff happen to you." But it's just who I am and what I do, and you know, me and my team, we've always researched all aspects of the paranormal. We've always like-minded people. We've always believed that everything was connected. It was just finding that thread that connected everything, and that's just it, man. And I'm happiest when I'm out in the field investigating. That's when I'm happiest, and I love this stuff, and I'm going to continue to do it for as long as I can, God willing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you said it's all interconnected, which it really is. And when one does the research of these things, it's like when you look like up, you can like see from a good vision. It's like everything is all tied in together. And that's great, my brother, that you got a passion for this stuff, and you do have a lot of hats, man. I'm like, man, this guy stays busy for sure, man. So that's awesome, man. Okay, I really want to dive into your dog man story, and I know you got some plenty of Bigfoot stories as well. We could dive into the dog man subject and to what occurred after that if you want to share that as well. I mean, that's a powerful testimony. So if you like, man, you can have the floor. I'm not going to interrupt you unless I have like a question. I mean, I'm more than likely I'm
Yeah,
not going to
don't
interrupt you.
hesitate to ask me a question if it pops up in your head. You're not gonna knock me off my game. I've been doing this for a long time, you know what I mean? So, yeah, just don't, because I don't want you to forget it or whatever, you know what I mean? So if a question pops up, please ask me. Don't hesitate. Well, I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, I've had a lot of dogman experiences. Um, we'll go back to the First one I had, very first Dogman experience I had. I was cruising down the parkway, 4 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and I'm passing a part of the parkway. I think it was like a Saturday, so I was like the only guy on the parkway at that time of the morning, and I see these glowing eyes coming out of the woods, but they're tall. I mean, they're up there, you know what I mean? And like 7, 8 feet tall. And I'm looking at them and I see two sets coming out of the woods. And I'm thinking, man, what the hell is that? So I start to slow the Jeep down in the middle of the parkway. I slow the Jeep down and I'm looking and I pulled the window down because the window was tinted and it was pitch black out. So I wanted to get a better look. And I'm looking at these things. And at first, honest to God, I thought they were Bigfoots. I didn't know what they were at first. And they come out, and there was two of them, and it came out of the woods, right where a meadow was, where the deers used to graze in the morning. And there wasn't any deer in that meadow that morning. And I'm looking at these things, and they're walking out into the middle of the field, and then to my surprise, they drop down all fours and they both turn and look at me and they see me looking at them. I'm about 100 yards, maybe 200 yards away, and they start running towards me. And I'm locked in, and they're locked in on me. And I'm noticing that their heads are bopping up and down. And I'm thinking, that's not Bigfoot. That's not a Bigfoot because Bigfoots don't have any necks. And I'm thinking, oh crap, I think these may be dogmen coming towards me. And it was weird because like time kind of slowed down. I remember looking in the rearview mirror to make sure there wasn't any cars coming down the parkway. I didn't want to get rear-ended. And then I remember looking over at them and them getting closer to me. And it had me in like some kind of trance. And I was just locked in. And then the little voice in my head said, you should leave, you should go. And I punched out the Jeep and I pulled up the window, I punched out the Jeep and I started to take off. And as I started pulling away, I tapped my brakes to see if they had followed me onto the parkway and were running me down. And as I was watching them, driving with my brakes on to put a little light behind me, I could see them both stop just before they got to the parkway, and like their heads both whipped um to the left, like up north towards the northern north, and then they turned and they ran up north. And so I get to work, and during the course of the day, I called my partner up and I was like, dude, I think I had a dogman experience this morning, and I explained to him what happened. And he's like, oh wow, you gotta go back, man. You gotta check it out. And I was like, nah, I really don't have to go back because the woods they came out of, it's just a small patch of woods. It's behind my kids' junior high school. And I've been there a million times for my son played soccer and football. My daughter played soccer. I was like, I know those woods, they're not that big. And my partner was like, dude, you have to go back. He insisted I go back. And I thought I knew the woods like the back of my hands because I spent so much time there. I said, okay. Sunday, I went back and I took a tape measure with me because I wanted to measure the branches of the trees that they came out from underneath. And when I measured the tree branches from the ground up, the branches were like at the 10-foot level. And because I guess they cut the branches high enough so the tractors can get in there and cut the meadow, the grass and everything. So I was like, wow, these things were pretty big. I don't think they were 10 feet tall, but I didn't realize the branches were cut that high. So then I'm like walking back into the woods, and I know there's a creek back there. And I go down to the creek and I see a bunch of people fishing, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, the state fills the creek up this time of year with trout and stuff and yada yada yada. And I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of food back here. There's all these fish. And I go underneath the roadway and it brings me out to a development on the other side of the road, which is a condominium complex. And there's a giant lake there, and there's geese in the lake, and there's frogs in the lake, and there's ducks in the lake. And I'm thinking, wow, they have the fish, they have all these other animals at the lake. And I'm continue to keep walking. And I walk past the condo complex, and I'm like walking west towards my house, and I'm walking, I get past the condo complex, and it opens up into a giant, cornfield. And I'm like, okay, corn equal deer, deer equals predators. And I was like, holy crap, I never realized how much food there was in this little area. This like quarter-mile area, even if it is a quarter mile, it may not even be that far, it may only be like an eighth of a mile. In this little area, there was so much food that I was never aware of. And then Monday came, and I went to got on the parkway to go to work, and I seen like a truck in the middle of the field. It was like a little green pickup truck. It said Department of Environmental Protection Agency, and I was like, I wonder if they're still stocking the stream. I didn't know what they were doing there because I had never seen them there before. And I come home, the truck is there, and I go to work, and the truck is there, and I come home, but I never see anybody in this truck. So about Wednesday, Thursday, it changes from a Department of Environmental Protection to like a little pickup, like a blazer, and it says Department of Environmental Conservation. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm looking at this conservation vehicle again. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, still nothing. I've never seen anybody come in and out of those trucks, but those trucks, both of those trucks, between both of those trucks, they were there for a solid week. And I was wondering if somebody was scoping out that area for these creatures. You know what I mean? Wasn't sure if there was uh, these people were hiding in the woods, or if they were setting up, um, you know, uh, sensors or anything. You know what I mean? Or trail cams or what? But so I thought that was pretty strange. There was a whole week there, and then I never seen anybody coming and going, and all the times I went back and forth. And I thought that was, you know, very suspicious. Um, but when I went to measure, and I was looking and I was following everything, I didn't see any like red flags. Like I didn't see any game trails, or I mean game cameras or anything, or I didn't see anything out of place that would raise a red flag. So that was like the very first time, and kind of blew my mind, to be honest with you. So then we went into the woods, found this local area up by me that's a very it's a place of high strangeness. Did a little research on it, and I heard I there were some Bigfoot sightings on the Appalachian Trail there. A couple in a tent that were sleeping off of the Appalachian Trail had a Bigfoot experience. Then there was some fishermen who seen lights in the sky over the lake. There's a 52-acre lake there. Um, then it was one of my neighbor who's a local guy. He had a couple of buddies stop in one day, and they were talking about they were hunting there at night, coon hunting at night with their dogs. They had red bone hounds, big dogs, and I was like eavesdropping, just like went over to say hello to my neighbor to eavesdrop because I heard him the way I heard him talking. It kind of raised the red flag. Like, what are these guys talking about? And they were talking about a Bigfoot sighting they had there. So I went and I investigated the area. I mean, I had been there many times with my son fishing. I had been there many times with my dog. Had a German Shepherd, and I took him out in the woods, and we did a lot of hiking. But at the time I was going there for that, I didn't know anything about all this stuff, all this high strangeness. So we went there. I went. I did. I scouted the location out, and it was Halloween, and it was a meteor shower that night. And it was pretty, a lot of stuff going on that night. And I wanted to be in the woods. I wanted to get there. I like to do day night when I do any investigation because I like to. I do a lot of environmental readings and see how all the equipment changes from day to night and stuff like that. On top of all the other stuff that we do. I've always used my ghost hunting stuff for my cryptid investigations. I mean, I'm not independently wealthy. The stuff I have is the stuff I use, and I've always used my paranormal stuff. And we were hiking through the woods, and we found a location that was up on a high ridge that had three quartz crystal stones set up in like a pyramid shape. And I thought it was weird. And it was about 4 miles in. And I said, okay, we're going to start our investigation at this location. Well, it's the furthest point from the car, and then we'll work our way back. There were certain locations I wanted to be at certain times. And there was a meadow that I wanted to get to, and then there was like the camp, what we call the campsite I wanted to be at. And we get in there, and we were all I take out with me when I go out is an 18-inch machete, 10-inch survival knife, and a bear can of pepper spray. I don't take any firearms with me. I don't allow anybody to carry any firearms because I don't trust anybody with a gun but me. And if I ain't got one, you can't have one either. And so we went out, we were investigating, and we were up on the high ridge, you know, not realizing that this location was basically right on top of a dogman den. We weren't there for the dogman. We were there for any high strangeness that happened on Hallows Eve. We were there for the Bigfoots. We were there for the UFOs. But we didn't know there was a dogman den there. It was the furthest thing from my mind. And so we're sitting up there, and we heard a Sasquatch walk over to us, and he whooped 3 times. And like my camera guy's like, maybe it's time to leave. And I was like, no, I mean, this thing was like 100 yards away, and the whoops were so loud that they vibrated up the ridge, went up our legs and through our chest. You know what I mean? And no one I was with that night had ever experienced that at that point except for me. And they were like, "What the hell was that?" I go, "I know what that is. That's a Bigfoot, and it whooped 3 times at us. And then it threw a rock at us that was like the size of a bowling ball. And it threw it up over the ridge, up over the top of the trees. I don't know how it did this, but what was crazy is that there was a dog kennel to the east of us. And when the full moon came out, there was a pack of coyotes on the western side of the lake, and they were howling at the moon, and the dogs were barking at the coyotes. I mean, it was just crazy. And then this Bigfoot whoops 3 times, and the woods go deadly silent. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. And it throws this rock. We're 50 feet up on a ridge with 60-foot trees above us, and it throws this rock the size of a bowling ball up over the top of the trees, and it came down right in between the three of us, and it rolled and it hit my tech guy's chair. At that point, he was like, "It's time for us to leave," and I'm like, "Nope, not ready to go yet. I feel like there's more to come." And we had this little up here in the Northeast that we have a lot of these stone walls that run in all different directions. People say they're property markers. I'm not so sure about it. I think they may have been built during the American Revolution. I'm not really sure because a lot of them are parallel, like right behind each other, and it wouldn't make any sense to build two walls that close to one another, and going in the same direction. But anyway, I was like, nope, not ready to go yet. I think there's more to come. And we're sitting there, and my camera guy is up against the wall. He's got his back to the wall. I'm in between him and my tech guy. And all of a sudden, we hear something charging up the ridge. It's a quadruped. It's on all fours, and it's coming. And you can hear all the leaf litter, and this thing is coming. It's charging, and I don't know if it's a black bear coming up the ridge or a mountain lion coming up the ridge, but I'm not sure what we're dealing with. So I tell all the guys, turn your headlamps on. We turn our headlamps on because we're sitting there in the dark with nothing but glow sticks. And the Bigfoot must have left. And we hear this quadruped charging up the ridge, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. All of a sudden, my cameraman gets up and he starts to run past me because he's sitting right by that wall, and whatever's coming is on the other side of that wall. He runs past me, and to this day, I don't know how I did it. I never took my eyes off the wall where the sound was coming from. I reached out with my left hand and I grabbed him and I stopped him dead in his tracks. And I spun him around and I said, stand your ground. And we ended up in a triangle formation. Him to my left, my tech guy to my right. They were a little bit further behind me, a little bit more open space. So they pulled out their machetes. I pulled out my survival knife because I was more in the sticks and the little saplings, machete just won't work in there. There wasn't any room to maneuver it. So I pulled out my survival knife and I'm thinking, oh man, there's going to be a mountain lion. He's going to hit this wall. He's going to come over this wall, and I'm going to have to sacrifice my left arm and kill it with this survival knife, for it mauls me to death. And the sound comes right up to the wall, charging up to the wall, and we're all waiting for something to come over that wall. And it never comes over the wall. It just stops dead. So we're standing there and we don't know what the hell is going on. I got a little Sony camera hanging around my neck, little digital camera. I take one photograph where I think it stopped. Not that I see anything, even with the headlamp on. It's not that I see anything, but this is where I think it is. So I take one photograph and we're sitting there and we're waiting and we're waiting and nothing comes over the wall. Now, like our ears are like the size of elephants. We're listening. We don't hear anything go back down the ridge. We heard it come up with all the leaf litter. We didn't hear anything walk back down. We didn't hear anything jump off the ridge into the swamp below. What the hell happened? So I told the guys, grab the cameras, let's go over the wall, let's see what the hell we got. So we grabbed the cameras, we jumped over the wall, we set the cameras up in every direction. We got a full spectrum, an IR camera, a thermal camera, a low light camera, and we got them pointed in every direction. And there's nothing on any of the cameras. My camera guy is carrying a 1500 luma flashlight. He lights up the swamp like daytime. I mean, he just lit those woods up. Nothing. I'm looking for eye shine because I'm not sure if it was the Bigfoot that came charging up the ridge either. And we're looking. We don't see anything. We don't hear anything, and it's just mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling. Whatever it was, it's gone. We didn't see it. We didn't hear it leave. It just disappeared when it got to the top of the ridge by the wall. So there's a lot of stuff happened then. I won't get into it, but we we post all our stuff on Facebook for everybody to see because we know there's people out there that got better equipment than we do. And I said, if you guys find anything in our photographs, let us know. Reach back out. This guy from California calls me and he's like, dude, you know that picture you took with the little digital camera at the stone wall? I'm like, yeah. He goes, did you see what was behind the wall? Dude, we put all our evidence up on the 60-inch screen TV, and there's like 8 guys on the team, and everybody's looking at it because a lot of the guys couldn't make it, so they're looking at it with fresh eyes, and nobody's seen anything in that photograph. Absolutely nothing. Well, this dude from California says, you got a dog man in that picture. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He goes, Al, you got a dog man in that picture. I go, send me the picture, bro. He sends me the picture. I'll open it up on my computer, and sure as shit, there's a dog man in that picture. So now I go to my digital camera, pull out the SD card, and throw it in my computer, And there's because I thought it was Photoshop. I gotta be brutally honest. I thought it was Photoshop. And there in the photograph in the on the digital camera is the dogman. You see his big ass nose sticking up over the wall. You see his eyes shining the reflection from either the headlamp or the flash of the camera, and you see two pointed ears, and it's kind of got like a block head, like a pit bull with his ears cropped, And we were dumbfounded, just absolutely dumbfounded. And that guy, like a week later, found a Bigfoot in one of our photographs too that we nobody seen. And this dude was amazing. He was a real like Columbo man, a real detective. He found all kinds of stuff in our photos. And again, I thought it was photoshopped until I pulled the SD card out and it was there. But so that was mind boggling that we got bluff charged, by a dog man and for some reason, it didn't come over that wall. I don't know why it didn't come over that wall. I thank God every day that it didn't come over that wall because it probably, even though we were armed with long blades and stuff, probably could have killed all three of us if it wanted to. Um, I'm a big opponent of the long blade. I think these creatures have been around for a long time and they know they've seen swords and spears and stuff like that for millennia. They know what these weapons can do to them. You know what I mean? So I think they're a little bit more respective of the long blade than they are of the gun. And so that was the second time, which was mind boggling and that was October, November 1st, whatever, because we were out there till like 2 o'clock in the morning. So then that whole winter, I'm being pulled back to the swamp. I don't know why I'm being pulled back to the swamp, but I'm being pulled back to the swamp. All winter long, something is pulling me back to the swamp. So I called the guys up. Spring comes and the summer rolls around. And I said, listen, I'm going back. I know you guys don't have to come if you don't want to, because, now that we know which bluff charges, we could all be dead. And I don't want to put anybody in harm's way, but I'm going back. I have to go back. I'm being pulled back. I don't know why I'm being pulled back, but I have to go back. And my camera guy and my tech guy like, no, 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 we're coming with you. We're not letting you go in the woods by yourself. And I told them, I said, all right, you guys can come, but don't pull me away in a different direction. I gotta get to the swamp because I know everybody is sensitive and everybody feels energies, and it's very easy for one guy to go right, one guy to go left, and one guy to go straight. And I was focused on just going straight. So they're like, no, Al, we'll go to the swamp with you. Don't worry. So we start to hike in, and like I said, it's 4 miles deep into the woods and getting closer to the swamp. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling nauseous. I got the cold sweats. I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on with me. And then the little voice inside my head says, you're being hit with infrasound. Something doesn't want you to go any further. And I said, tell the guys, I think I'm being hit with infrasound, thinking something's trying to stop me from getting there. And at the same time, something is pulling me there. So I got these two energies, one pulling me and one trying to stop me. I go up behind a big tree. I hide. I get out of the range of the infrasound and take some water and some, orange. I eat an orange. I still get some water, and my camera guy is like, maybe we should turn around and go back. And I'm like, dude, I can see the swamp from where we're at. We're like 100 yards away. There's no way I'm turning around now. You know what I mean? I've been waiting all winter to get here. I'm 100 yards away. I'm not turning around. We just hiked 4 miles. So it passes. Whatever was trying to stop me gave up. It passes. We go, we get to the swamp, and we're walking around. There's three experienced investigators, and we don't see anything. There's nothing jumping out at us. We don't, there's, we're walking all over the place. We go back up on the high ridge and we're looking around. What are we missing? what drew me here? What was I supposed to see, and why aren't I seeing it? So we're walking around, we're just talking amongst ourselves, and a little voice in my head says, "Al, jump on this big rock." It was like a megalithic stone, right by the swamp. So I jump up on this big rock, and the voice says, "Move the cattails with your walking stick." Cattails were like 10, 12 feet high. I move the cattails with my walking stick, and there's a trackway going right into the middle of the swamp. So I call both of the guys up. I said, "Come on up here. Look what I found." We're looking at it. The camera guy zooms in, following the trackway, and there in the middle of the swamp is a den. There's a den in the middle of the swamp. So now we find the trackway, we find the den, and we're like trying to figure out how we're going to get in there. One of the guys is like, "We got to get a drone, we got to fly it in." And my camera guy's got cameras, man. This dude can see the alien bases on the moon. And he zooms into the swamp and he says, "There's something in the den. I see something in the den. There's something in the den." All right. Well, let's just keep filming. So we jump off the rock and we're walking around, and now all of a sudden it's like the blinders have come off us. We're seeing arches and X's and breaks and bends and twists that we didn't see for the first hour we were there. We found something that looks like a corral made with down trees, 60-foot trees shaped like a corral with like like a almost like in a V shape would open, like almost like to funnel deer into it, and then you could ambush them as they're coming through the other side. And we're taking pictures of this, and we find scat, and I go up on the west side of the on a hill to look down into the swamp, and there up on the western side of the hill, and I'm looking down. I see a trackway coming out of the back of the den, going down directly down the center of the swamp. Whatever this thing was, it walked right down the center of the swamp. And we're filming and we're taking pictures. And it was just like the most amazing thing. Like, this is what I was being dragged there to see. This is what was whatever was trying to stop me to see it. This is what they're. So now we realize, holy crap, we're up on the high ridge that night, literally 50 feet above the den. We didn't know there was a den in the middle of the swamp. We weren't there for the dog man. You know what I mean? And so we go back to my cameraman's house and we put the video up on his 60-inch screen TV, and we're sitting in his living room looking at the video, and there's this giant canine head. Looks like a wolf's head, but just like 4 times the size. And it's looking to the south. And right next to that is this thing that looks like a hyena staring at us, snarling at us, not happy that we found it then. Now, I believe that's the same one that Bluff charged us that night because it had that same block head, you know? And next to that thing, now we didn't see it at first, right? We didn't see it. And we're looking and we're blown away by, oh my God, it's a dogman den. There's two dogmen in it, a big one and a smaller one. And my friend's mom comes into the living room with coffee and cake. She goes, "You guys want coffee and cake?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she looks at the TV and she says, "What are those two little monkeys doing in there?" And I go, "What two little monkeys?" She goes, "Right here." She goes over to the TV and she points out, looks like two little baby Sasquatches. And there's something holding their hands. I don't know if it was a reptilian or what it was, but to me, it looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon. And it was in the den with the dogmen. And I'm thinking, everybody's like, it's a reptilian. It's a reptilian. It's got the baby Sasquatches by the hands. And what's the baby Sasquatches doing in a dogman den? We know that the Sasquatch um, side of the woods is on the west side. We're on the east side now. This is the dogman side, and we're just blown away by everything we're seeing. And it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. This is what I was being pulled to go find. And we found all this evidence, and it's just mind boggling, everything we found in that den. And then time passes and summer turns to fall. It's late September, early October, and we're in bed. My wife and I are in bed, and I don't, being a dude from the city, I don't usually sleep with my windows open. Okay, especially if I'm on the first floor. If I'm on the second floor, it doesn't matter. But on the first floor, I learned in the city, if you sleep with your window open in the city, someone's coming in. So I never sleep with the window open. That night, it's unseasonably warm. I've already taken the air conditions out of the windows. Everything's packed away for the fall, the fans, and it's hot. And my wife says, open the window. I was like, all right, let me open the window. So I open the window. Window's on my side of the bed. And my cat is laying in. We've got a little cat laying in between me and my wife. And I'm laying in bed sleeping. And around 3 o'clock in the morning, I just pop up. I pop straight up. I sit up and I feel like there's something outside my window. And the little voice in my head says, touch the wall. And I touch the wall. Now I've had Sasquatches come through my yard and leave me quartz crystal stones on my fire pit. I got 100 acres of apple orchard behind my house, old apple orchard, and across the street from my house, I have 100 acres of wetland. So the Sasquatches come by, and sometimes they'll leave me a gift. So I feel the wall, and the energy coming through that wall is not Sasquatch. Now, all of a sudden, the cat gets a whiff of something. She jumps up out of the bed and she goes running upstairs. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I put my face against the screen, which was stupid. They could have pulled me out. And I'm looking out into the backyard and it's pitch black. And I'm looking and I can't see a damn thing, but I hear something sniffing. It's sniffing once, sniffing twice, three times. So I was like, okay, something's out there. So I shut the window, I lock it. I got a pistol grip 12 gauge on the side of the bed in between my guitars. I grabbed the gun and I was like, okay, let's go see what's in the backyard. As I'm walking towards the kitchen that leads to the sliding glass door that goes to the backyard, the little voice in my head says, stop. You don't want to see what's out there. Turn around, go back to bed, and just go to sleep. Now, this goes against every fiber of my being. When I tell you, if I think there's something in my backyard, my shotgun has 100 Luma flashlight on it. You know what I mean? And I got sensor lights in the backyard that light up the whole yard, but I got them. I keep them shut off because we get so many animals that go through the yard at night. They're always on. So I go back to bed. Put the shotgun in between the guitars. I go back to bed. I get up in the morning. I get in my car. I go to work. I call up the guys, and I was like, a couple of the guys, I tell them what happened. They're like, dude, you got to check the backyard. You got to go back in the yard, check the backyard for footprints. So I go in the back and I get home. I go, now we had just run new lines from the well. We have well water to the house. The old lines were shots. We had to put, so at one part of the yard, there was a good 50, 100 feet of 100 feet long by maybe 3 feet wide where there was no grass because they dug up the lines with a backhoe and they just put new lines out. So it's just dirt. And I go in the backyard and I'm looking in the fresh dirt for footprints. I don't see any tracks, but there underneath my bedroom window was claw marks in the fresh dirt, like three. I don't remember if it was three or four. I think it was four claw marks, like almost like a little like a scooch, like yeah, I was here last night. Let me know it was here. So I take a picture of my bedroom window. I take a picture of the claw marks, where the claw marks are. I'm like, wow, it was Dogman was really at my house last night. I was like, holy crap, you know what I mean? And I knew when I put my hand against that wall to feel the energy that was coming through, I knew it was a dog man that was in my yard. I just knew it. Every fiber of my being knew it was a dog man. Still, 9 out of 10 times, it won't stop me from going and seeing, going out in the yard. But so that happens. Uh, a couple of weeks go by, maybe a month, and we've had a lot of wild dogs running through the neighborhood on garbage day, tearing up all the garbage and stuff. So now I'm going out to start my car at 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, I'm taking a can of pepper spray with me and a pocket knife, like a little 4-inch pocket knife, because I don't want to get mauled by a pack of dogs. And I'm walking down the walkway, and the sensor light goes on, and I feel like something is watching me. And I turn around and I'm looking at the house, and I don't see anything on my front deck. I don't see anything in my yard. I'm looking at my neighbor's yard because we don't have any fences or bushes. It's just one property attached to the other. And my kids ran up and down the neighbor's property like it was their own. And I'm looking to my neighbor's house to the left. I don't see anything. I'm looking to my neighbor's house to the right. I don't see anything. I was like, I don't know, man. It feels like something's watching me. So I go down to my car, and my car is the furthest from the garage door because there's 4 cars in the driveway, mine, my wife's, my daughter's, and my son's. And I get in my car, I start it up, and I start to walk back up the steps to go back in the house to make coffee and get my stuff together for the day. And as I get to the front steps, I feel like there's something underneath the front deck looking at me. I can't see what's under the front deck. I just had a brand new retaining wall built out of a cinder block on one side of the deck. I can't see anything under the deck because it's pitch black, and the sensor lights are on the deck, so they're pointing right at me. They're blinding me. But I feel like there's something under the deck, and I'm like, I think there's something under the deck. Oh, when I got up that morning, um, my sliding glass door in my back in my kitchen has like 3 different locks on it. It locks down, it locks into the wall sideways, it locks into the wall up into the ceiling because I'm from the city, so I make sure I had a sliding glass door you just couldn't pop open. But I opened up the sliding glass door that morning to feed our outside cat. We had a little outside cat that lived in the doghouse, and I fed her at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I locked everything back up. So I'm getting ready to take a walk down the driveway towards the garage door because I feel like there's something under the deck. And the cat is coming around the front of the house to use my wife's flower garden, well, the what do you call that stuff when you put in flowers, mulch is to use as a bathroom. She comes walking around the corner and she sees something under the front deck. And she does like a Halloween cat. She jumps straight up, and this little like 7 pound cat ran up into the woods. She sounded like a bulldozer going through the woods. She couldn't get away fast enough, which stopped me dead in my tracks, like, uh-oh, what the hell does she see under there, Because I'm thinking, I feel like there's somebody watching me, and I'm thinking we don't have any homeless people in my town. I live in a little town, but who knows? Maybe some dude stumbled in and some drunk stumbled in. He's sleeping underneath my deck. So I'm going to make sure there's nobody under there because my wife and my daughter's got to come out to get in the car. I don't want them getting jumped. So I start walking to the front deck. I flip open the knife. I got the pepper spray in one hand, knife in the other. And as I'm getting closer and closer, I got one hand up blocking the sensor lights because the sensor lights are blinding me. As I'm getting closer, the little voice in my head says, "You should stop right about here." And I stop, and I'm still like 2 car lengths away from the garage. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep going because if there's somebody under my deck, I'm going to throw their ass out into the street. So I start walking again. I start walking again, and I hear another voice in my head. I don't know if it's my guardian angel or if it's the dog man talking to me telepathically, but I hear, "You should stop right there before you get shredded," which stopped me dead in my tracks. Now I'm closer. I'm only 1 car length away from the garage door, and I'm starting to see what's underneath the front deck. And I see this massive black canine head. I don't see any eye shine. I don't see any teeth. I don't hear any growling, but I see this big head. Now, I know this big head. This is the same head I seen in the photograph in the den, and and now it's really starting to come into focus. My deck is 7 feet high, and what's ever under the deck is hunched over. It had to be hunched over to get underneath it, and it's got like a lion's mane coming over its shoulder and down into its belly area. And I'm looking at this thing, and I know what it is. And I think, okay, let's back out of here slowly. Back out of there slowly. I go in the house. I live upstate. I hunt. My son-in-law lives here. My At the time, my son was still living here. I got a lot of high-powered rifles in my house, and I think, should I wake up Nick and Joe and go to war with this thing? But I know if I go to war with this thing, it usually ends bad for the people who go to war with it. And I'm debating in my head, what do I do? Do I do I wake up everybody and load up and lock and load, or do I just leave and go to work? I don't know what to do. So I was like, okay, you know what? The little voice says you should just leave it alone. So I, as I'm leaving, I take my tactical flashlight with me because now I want to see what's under there. I want to light up that underneath that deck like daytime. I got a tactical little flashlight that's like so powerful, it's amazing. So as I walk down the walkway, I hit the deck. I hit underneath the deck with the flashlight, and I light it up like daytime under there, and there's nothing there, but I smell something like an ammonia kind of smell. So I walk under the deck, and there on my new retaining wall, this thing urinated all over my wall, and the urine is going down my wall and into my driveway drain. And I'm thinking, holy crap, this thing just marked its territory. Now my brain flashes back to when I was at the Dogman uh, den. When I was walking around at one point, I had to use the restroom. I went behind a tree and urinated. And I'm thinking, I urinated in front of his den. He's urinating in front of my house. But he's not there now. So I was like, okay, let me just go to work. I get in the car, I drive to work. I get to work, takes me an hour to get to work, an hour, 10 minutes. I'm sitting down in the lunchroom, having my coffee, read the paper. My wife calls me. She's hysterical. I go, what's the matter? She said, I opened up the back door to feed Callie, the cat, and the whole damn door fell out of the track. If my son wasn't in the kitchen with her, he caught it and he held it up and then he pushed it back in place. And I was like, well, what are you feeding the cat for? I fed the cat at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're feeding him again at 7. You know what I mean? And I said, well, lock the door back in place. I'm off tomorrow. I'll reset everything. I'll take care of everything. I'll reset everything, and I'll worry about it tomorrow. And I guess while I was underneath the front deck with the flashlight looking for this thing had gone around to the back of the house and tried to pop sliding glass door off the hinges. I mean, off the track to get in. I mean, not that he could have just ran through the damn thing, but I guess it was showing me this is how easy it is to get in if I want to. And so then I went back to the Dogman den like a week later by myself, and had a long conversation with the woods. I said, listen, I get it. I came to your house and pissed on your property. You came to my house, pissed on my property. We're even now. I won't come back here anymore. You don't come back to my house. We got a deal. And I left it at that. And it's been that way for a long time. I don't know if you got any questions or anything.
Yeah, man, I did not know when you was talking about the whole Bigfoot thing, how they would leave gifts on your property, to how they would leave quartz crystals. I just thought that was interesting. You said you went out in the woods and you got stumbled like on a pyramid structure quartz crystals. That's fascinating because I've talked about quartz crystals with some people and how there's like a connection with quartz crystals and UFOs. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you know the man named Nikola Tesla. He was
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of Mr. Tesla. Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, and he was really big on quartz crystals. And he said it himself, before he died. He said quartz crystals is nothing less than a living entity in itself. And he had a protege named Otis T. Carr. I don't really hear much people talk about him in the UFO community for whatever reason, but Otis T. Carr was the first civilian who made flying saucers. He made multiple prototype crafts back in the late 1950s and early 1960s, named the OTC-X1. And he
Those
had
were the ones they were making up in Canada, right?
uh, in Oklahoma City, and then they went out to Apple Valley, California, to finish the work because he was having problems. Like, well, basically, the government was framing him for selling fraudulent stocks and stuff.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, then they
yeah,
must have took his design plans and they moved the project up to Canada. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they probably did, but from Ralph's ring testimony, his technician, uh, they moved all the way to Apple Valley, California, and opened up a little facility, the OTC Enterprises, and they was designing these crafts day and night. And one of the things that Otis T. Carr he had told Ralph Ring was one of the key things that these crafts was operating was through these crystals, and how the craft itself inside would illuminate this brilliant glow when it was being basically amplified or whatever. And
Sure.
yeah, Nikola Tesla was very huge on quartz crystals. I just found it very funny about quartz crystals. I mean, I've heard about New Agers. I mean, I don't practice New Age or nothing, but I've heard testimonies from other New Agers how they would get crystals and they would meditate, use them to try to summon UFOs close to them. And I mean, if you've heard of I mean, it's a whole connection with the whole Bigfoot and UFOs, and we've heard stories of people seeing these flying saucers land in the middle of the woods, and how these Bigfoot they run out from the craft into the woods, or there'd be UFO abductees who claim they're inside these craft, and they would see these Sasquatch-looking creatures inside operating the craft. So I just feel like it's a connection with them using quartz crystals and stuff. I think it's a part of a spiritual aspect where spirits can be inside crystals because I believe they use crystals as a part of like a vehicle or a little object to travel and stuff in as well. So I just thought that was interesting. This is the first time I've heard you talking about, to my knowledge, about them leaving quartz crystals on your property. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I take the crystals and I bring it back to the sacred site, and then they bring them back to me.
Oh
It
wow.
goes back and forth. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. But yeah, as a matter of fact, that night, real quick, that night after we left that location, because after we got bluff charged, everybody was like, "Let's go now, Al. You ready to go now?" After we left, that on our way to the other location, which was the meadow, I seen a light in the sky. I was wearing a meteorite stone. I forgot what it's called. It's a green stone. It's supposed to radiate at the alien frequency. I was wearing it that night because I was trying to, make something happen, right? And we seen this light in the sky, and I was like, "Oh God, please don't let us get abducted because of me, because I'm wearing this stone." And I don't know which one of the guys seen it, but they pointed up to it. They go, "What's that?" And as soon as they said, "What's that?" it stopped dead in the sky. It was going from west to east, and then when they pointed to it, it stopped dead, and it was over the 52-acre lake, which people have seen them draining water out of, and it stopped, and then it made a beeline over to us. And when it got to us, it was putting off this electrical hum. And I told everybody, because we were on top of this rock formation. There was no leaves on the tree because it was Halloween. And it was hovering above us and it was making this electrical hum. And we're all trying to figure out what it was. And we're filming it. I mean, we got video of it. And I tell everybody to shut off the headlamps because, this thing, we're like beacons. This thing seen us, it made a beeline right over to us. And soon as we shut off our headlamps, this thing hit us with a floodlight. And we were sitting in this light looking up at this thing, and this thing illuminated us. And I think my tech guy, Brian, said, I think it's downloading us. And I said, I did a time check. I said, give me a time check. And then I said, we should step out of this light because we really don't know what it's doing to us. And we stepped out of the light where illumination was. As soon as we stepped out of the light, it blinked off and the craft took off across the lake. But this time it just went straight south. And in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Boom. I mean, just gone. And we were like, oh man, you know, by the time we got to the meadow, we did another time check and we don't believe we lost any time, but at some point we did lose like 2 hours or something, It was just a weird night. But I mean, we did have a UFO encounter that night as well. So there you go with the UFO and we believe that the Bigfoot we believe that the Bigfoot was warning us to get out of that location because we were so close to the Dogman den. And I think when it whooped 3 times, it was telling the other Sasquatches in the area, there's 3 of them. And I think it was really, really was trying to get us out of there because we were in harm's way. Because when we ended up at the meadow, that's where we got the picture of the Bigfoot underneath the red maple. He was on its belly watching us. And I think it was there watching us because it wanted to make sure the dogman didn't follow us back to the other side of the lake, and because the meadow was like in the center of the east and the west, you know what I mean? And it was just a crazy night. But I mean, yeah, I mean, this is just crazy stuff. And to think that shit like this could happen and it's just mind-boggling. I mean, I don't know how long you want to go tonight. I think we've already been on for about an hour, but
Oh, I got a little time. I don't know if you wanted to share about your MIB encounter. Which dogman experience did you have to where those people came into the picture? I don't know if you want to talk about that and go in
uh,
depths about that.
yeah, I was come driving home. There's another location that's in a place of high strangeness. This location, again, it's got UFO coming in and out of it has its own lake, and then you have UFOs coming out of the lake. At this location, there are these ancient stone chambers that are built in these woods. One is called the King's Chamber because it's up on a mountain and it overlooks like a courtyard and it's humongous. You could put like 30 people in it. And then right behind it is what they call the Queen's Chamber that has a standing stone in it. And this place, I've seen UFOs there. We've had dogman experiences there. We have Bigfoot experience. But one night I'm driving home on the parkway and I'm cruising down the parkway and I'm stuck in traffic, New York traffic. And there's a cutout where the power lines run. And I'd seen a Bigfoot up on one of these megalithic stones one time, sunning himself there. So we went there and researched it, and we found glyphs on the ground, and we found a fist print, and we found a knee print, and we found all kinds of Bigfoot stuff. But up on top of the mountain is a shed that the power company uses to put their tools in, and they actually got a couple of quads in there too, because the this power line runs for miles and it runs straight up a mountain. So what they'll do is they'll get in the quads and they'll check the lines. They'll go from one tower to the next, all the way to the top of the mountain. Um, but I'm driving through, I'm stuck in traffic, and I get to the cutout and I look up at because I'm always looking up at that rock. I look up at the rock and there's nothing on the rock. And then I look up at the top of the mountain, and there on top of the shed is a dog man on top of the shed. And it looks like it's got one hand holding the power line tower, and the other hand's just stretched out in the air, and its legs are spread out and its nose is up in the air, and it's sniffing, and it's sniffing the air. I don't know if it was looking for other dog man. I don't know if it was hunting deer or whatever, but I'm watching this thing up on top of the power lines, up on top of the shed, and it's as big, and I'm looking around and cars around me, you know what I mean, to see if anybody else is looking at this, and nobody is looking at it. Everybody's looking at the construction, and I'm looking at this thing, and I can't believe what I'm staring at. And then finally the construction opened up, and we went. So I got home and I called a couple of my guys, and they're like, yeah, we got to go back, we got to go back. So we went back, and we're looking in, again, we're searching the area, and we're finding claw marks in the trees at like the 9, 10 foot level, and obviously they leave a residue behind the dog man. You know what I mean? And it's like it's not a good vibe. The energy is not good. You know what I mean? It's a dark energy. Not that I'm saying these things are demons or anything, but it's just a very aggressive, predatory kind of energy. And we're finding all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, we got to come back at night, and we're researching these woods, and you know, it's just we're all over these woods. The whole time we're in these woods searching, I never seen another person in there. I never seen anything that would raise a red flag, not even a game trail. And people do hunt these woods. You're allowed to hunt in these woods. Not a game trail, not nothing that would stick out of the ordinary. And we're spending a lot of time at this location now compared to the other location. And we're getting good stuff, and we're really excited because these woods are really big, and they actually have a campsite there as well. So I'm thinking, okay, man, we're gonna book a campsite up. We're gonna spend a weekend here, and then we're gonna take all our stuff and we're gonna head into the woods investigating, and we'll be here. You know what I mean? Right in the middle of this stuff. One day I'm cruising up the parkway. It was a Saturday, and I'm cruising up the parkway, just minding my own business. And right across from the cutout used to be an old ski resort. And it's just this giant parking lot with a little out station, a Rangers outstation, park Rangers outstation. And there's never anybody in that parking lot. I never even seen any like police cars at the outstation or anything. And but so the construction company is using this giant parking lot for a staging area. They got mountains of gravel and mountains of dirt, and they're doing all kinds of construction. They got all kinds of crap there. And I'm cruising up the parkway, minding my own business, listening to music. It's a Saturday afternoon, a beautiful sunny day. I got the sunroof open. I'm just cruising, listening. All of a sudden I look up, and there's a park police car right up my ass. It was like this thing dropped out of the sky. I don't know where it came from. I didn't see it come racing up behind me. All I know is I looked in the mirror and it was there. So I pull over to let it by, and it pulls over behind me. And then it turns on its lights. So I'm like, what's going on, man? I'm not even speeding. I'm cruising. I'm a cruiser. I'm not a speeder. And so I get to that giant parking lot, and I said, let me pull in here, get off the parkway so we don't block up traffic. And I pull over, And I pull over and they get on their radio and they say, go behind that giant pile of gravel. Park behind that park. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Park behind that gravel? That doesn't feel right to me. You know what I mean? So I pull up behind the gravel, and they pull up behind me. And this now here in New York, the park police cars are green and white. A lot of people don't realize that the park police are still state police, and if they see you speeding on the parkway, they can give you a speeding ticket. So, but I know they're state police, so I don't speed. You know what I mean? But anyway, they get up behind me and they stay like maybe 6 feet behind me, and the guy gets back on the walkie talkie on the radio, on the loudspeaker, and he says, shut the car off, throw the keys on the floor on the passenger side, put your windows down, and leave your seatbelt on and put your hands on the steering wheel. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? It feels like I'm getting whacked. I feel like it's a hit. I feel like I'm going to get whacked here, you know? And these two guys get out of the car. They're big dudes, 6'5", 300 pounds, not an ounce of fat on them. They look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. One guy's got a black leather jacket with aviators. The other guy's got a dungaree with wraparound Goakley's on, you know, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And I go, I said, hello, officer, can I help you? And the guy with the dungaree jacket, I mean, the leather jacket is on my side. The guy with the dungaree is on the other side of the car, but they're not getting close to the car. And I'm thinking if they get close to the car and they touch the car, I can get their fingerprints. You know, I know people. Maybe we could find out who these dudes are, you know? And I'm like, what's going on? You know? And they're like, he pulls it, goes in his jacket, pulls out this black leather. Okay. And he says, you Al Santariga? I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, can I see some ID? And he's got a badge hanging around his neck, but the badge doesn't match the police car. There's something weird here. I'm looking at the badge, I'm looking at the police car, and they're not matching up because the park police have a different badge than the state police. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, can I see your ID up close? Can you see a guy? I want to see your name. You know, I don't know who I'm talking to. And he goes, you want to see my ID? And I go, yeah, I want to see your ID. And he opens up his jacket and he shows me his gun. He goes, this is my ID. And I go, okay, that's a good ID. Absolutely. I got it, you know? And he starts cursing at me. You think you know what's in these woods? You have no clue what's in these woods. I want you to stay out of my goddamn woods. I don't want you in my woods. I don't want you going to the park. I don't even want you taking your dog to the park for a walk. I don't want you in any state parks. I don't want you in any federal parks. I don't even want you in town parks. I don't want you in any parks. And he's screaming at me. And the guy on the other side is screaming and cursing at me too. And he's telling me, it would be a shame if after 30 years on the job if you lost your pension. I'm like, whoa, 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 time out, bro. There's no reason to go there. You know what I mean? Just tell me what you want and you got it. You know, mama didn't raise no fool. You just tell me what you want. You know, and they're screaming and they're cursing. And then the other guy says, and I don't usually say this out loud on the air, but the other guy says to me, it would be a shame if you got locked up for child pornography, if you found child pornography on your computer. And I was like, whoa, time out, bro. You don't have
Let
to go there.
me
There's no
pause you right.
reason.
Let me pause you right there. I'm pretty sure you heard of this man named Stan Romanek.
Oh,
He,
Romanek, yeah.
yeah, he was claimed to be a repeated UFO abductee experiencer. He kept having these ETs coming to his house. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people thought his story was just fraudulent or whatever. I mean, I believe it was real. I mean, he sat and on the camera having interviews with people saying that he was keep getting repeated calls from these shadowy government agencies telling him to discredit himself. Then next thing you know, he gets locked up for child pornography. He's a registered sex offender. For these powers somehow put on this PC, they framed him and they put child pornography on
Yeah.
this PC to silence him and to basically discredit all what he's been talking about. So now when people listen to his story, the first thing people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just you're a predator." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I mean, they got ways to do this. I mean, I believe they got connections to these powers. They got connections from the banking systems to the big pharma, uh, big oil, and other parts of the monetary system. And they got connections even through the court systems, you know. And I remember, well, I'll let you tell the story, but I remember you was saying how they had even threatened about your friend Brian and
Yeah, yeah,
said,
I'm getting to that part too. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah, they also, I don't know if you remember, but the head of MUFON, he used to do that show Hanger One or whatever. He was like the president of MUFON. He was there. I don't know what happened with that dude, but all of a sudden, after years of being in MUFON and running MUFON, he got locked up for being for child pornography too.
wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I was like, when I heard about that dude getting locked up for child porn, it's raised a red flag because I knew about Stan, you know what I mean, and Romanek, and I was like, now this dude and these guys threatened me with the same shit, you know what I mean, and so anyway, in the middle of all this screaming, they're going back and forth, the left, right. They're screaming at me, you know. The guy with the leather jacket opens up his little black book again, and he calls out my partner's name, and he's like, you know, you better tell your fat effing friend uh, that they gave me his address in the Bronx. They gave me his apartment number. They knew everything about me. They knew everything about my partner, and they said because in New York City. You can't own a firearm. It's impossible to get a firearm. Even like a hunting rifle, it's impossible to get in New York City. And he lived in the city. And he said, it would be a shame if we kicked his door down at 3 o'clock in the morning and pulled out all kinds of which we call illegal weapons and stuff. It would be a shame if we had to arrest him as a domestic terrorist. That's what they told me. And I was thinking, oh man, domestic terrorists, they arrest you for domestic terrorism. You're not even entitled to a lawyer. They just throw your ass in jail and you rot there, you know? So I was like, listen, bro, I'll pass the message along to my partners. He's a big boy. He's going to do whatever he wants to do. But I promise you, I will pass the message along. As far as these woods are concerned, you will never catch my ass in these woods ever again, you know? So then the guy with the dungaree said, oh, what are you talking about Thursday night? Now, Monday nights, we did a group down in Westchester, New York, Westchester County. We did paranormal at a library. We did a paranormal meeting every Monday night, once a month. And we would open it up to the general public and then we would review our evidence review and stuff. But upstate, we would do a UFO thing. We were hooked up with a cafe up here and he would let us come up once a month and do a UFO thing because it's close to Pine Bush, which is New York State's capital, UFO capital, and all of this stuff. So the guy in the dungaree says, by the way, now we've always suspected that we had feds come in and monitor us during our meetings. You know what I mean? Because every now and then you get somebody come in and he had different mojo, and and they asked really specific questions and stuff like they're digging for answers. Like, sometimes they'll ask you questions and no matter how you answer it, you can't answer it correctly. And there was a couple of times we had these people come in and we look at one another and say, it's a fad, he's a plant, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, the dude with the dungaree said, by the way, what are you discussing Thursday night? Thursday was the night we did the UFO thing. And I was like, UFOs. And he goes, good, stick with UFOs. Nobody gives a shit about them. And I was like, okay, and until somebody does, and then I got to deal with this shit again. And I swear to God, the whole time I was there, I thought I was getting whacked. I thought they were going to shoot me in the back of the head and throw the gun in the front seat like I committed suicide. And I said, this is insane. And then they got in their car and they left. And I went home. I called my partner right away. He bought a two-way camera for his car in case he ever got pulled over. But he was never really on the road like I was because he was that city driving, you know. I was doing more of that country driving, you know. And then for like a week straight, every time I passed that particular park, out of nowhere, a state trooper car would drop out of the sky and follow me for like two or three exits, and then they would get off and go back the other way. And no matter what I did, if I left to go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, if I left at 5, if I left at 6, I always was trying to change it up. You know what I mean? Instead of being so routine, like routine. And no matter when I went by this one particular exit, as soon as I got by it, I would have a state trooper car behind me, follow me for three exits every single day for a week straight. They must have had my car bugged because they knew exactly when I was passing that exit, you know? And then all of a sudden it just went away. They stopped following me. I haven't had any more experiences with them ever since that day I stayed out of those woods. You know, I never even went back for big, but they must have had either they were in the woods when we were in the woods and they were watching us, or they had sensors in the ground and they knew if somebody was in there walking around, and maybe they had a satellite overhead that they could watch us. I don't know, but obviously they knew whenever we were there and they knew who was there. So they obviously they had video or photographs of us, you know, at night in the woods. And like I said, I like to do day night, so we're getting in there during daylight hours. So if they are watching us, they're getting good photographs of us, you know. So that was just insane. That wasn't insane. And it kept me out of the woods. I'll be honest with you. For like 2 years, I didn't go back into any woods. I stuck with ghost hunting and UFO stuff, you know. I just got away from cryptids altogether because I wanted to spend 30 years, 33 years on the job. I didn't want to lose my pension, you know. And I definitely did not. I spent my whole life obeying the law, so not to get locked up. I didn't want to get locked up now at my old age.
Right. So, so from what a lot of eyewitness claim, from what I heard, I must listen to over 1,000 Dogman stories. Uh, from what I heard about a lot of Dogman experiences, I've heard where people say like, "Man, I've been in gunfights. I've had a gun pulled to my head. I've been in combat war. Nothing scared me like the Dogman." But from your personal experience, what frightened you more, these Dogman experiences or these shadowy MIB agencies?
Oh, the MIB for sure. You know what I mean? That's hands down. Yeah, no. I mean, I've had enough dogman encounters. Um, And as a matter of fact, I had this conversation with Vic yesterday. There's a lot of dogman stuff on the internet right now where a lot of people are being killed by dogmen. Dogmen are attacking hunters and police officers in the woods doing maneuvers and gunfights with dogmen and all this crazy stuff. It's like every time I look, I go on YouTube, it's some video or someone's telling the story, a true story about this guy or that guy, where a dog man killed, like one guy was saying that the dog man disabled his vehicle. I mean, a dog man's a mechanic. He's taking your vehicle apart. I mean, come on, man, really? And killed three people, but there's always one person who makes it out alive. And I had this conversation with Vic, and I said, I think there's a lot of misinformation in the dog man world right now. I was like, Vic, um, I said, if these creatures were this bad, I would have been dead three times already. Three times. I said, and each time I walked out of the woods, and each time I was a couple of feet away, 5 feet away, 10 feet away, 20 feet away. These things could have just mauled us in my driveway. You know what I mean? Three different times in the woods and once at my house, and yet here I am, I'm still here. And Vic's like, yeah, Al, it's all about these horror stories about dogmen killing people now. I said, yeah, I just think people of just making shit up now. It's so much misinformation now that it's getting so bad, really, really bad and stuff. People just want content and they're just making shit up and they're giving the dog man a bad rap. You know what I mean? It doesn't need these people to scare people any more than it already does. Because believe me, when you're face to face with these things, it's scary enough, you know. But you can't show fear because they feed off of that shit. You know what I mean? You just have to stay calm, cool, and collective, and just do your thing. And whether it's back out slowly or just walk out of the woods. As a matter of fact, my cousin Sean and I were in the woods last October, two Octobers ago. We went to the sacred site, which is on the west side of the woods, the Bigfoot site, and the Dogman Den is on the east side of the woods. Now, I haven't been back to that den since I made the deal with the Dogman. And when I go to the sacred site to investigate, I'm going for Bigfoot. And the Dogman never even crosses my mind. Well, that particular night, or day, I should say, that day, me and Sean hiked up to the sacred site. On the way up to the sacred site, about halfway up the mountain, because it's off trail, the thought came in my head. I wonder if the dogman is still in that den. Now, recently, I've had a lot of experiences with dogman, UFO, and entities hearing my thoughts. Okay. And it's come to me. This is another thread that links them all together. They can hear our thoughts. So I have this thought in my head. I wonder if the dog man is still on the west on the east side of the woods. We get up to the sacred site. We don't even drop our backpacks, and the dog man goes off. Okay. Now I got audio of this. Me and my cousin Sean are racing for our cell phones because all our stuff is packed in the backpack. When we go to our cell phones, we turn them on. Now, Sean was a little bit quicker than me because he's younger than me. And we turn on and we're recording. And in his recording, you hear the tail end of the dog man going off. Then the coyotes go absolutely insane, like dirty coyotes go out. And in the video, it's still daytime out. It's a beautiful sunny day out, and you hear the coyotes going crazy for about a minute or so. And then about a minute in, you hear the dog man in the middle of the coyotes go off again. Much deeper, much louder, much more pronounced than the coyotes. And he goes off again. And my cousin Sean has never experienced the dog man. He's experienced a lot of stuff with me, this kid, but he's never experienced the dog man. So after the coyotes cool out, and Sean says, "Do we have to worry about the dog man coming up here?" And I was like, "No, this is the Sasquatch territory. He ain't coming up here. There's no way. This is the Sasquatch's home range. This is the sacred site. Not as long as we stay up here, nothing's gonna happen to us." So we stay up there, and we're up there till 2 o'clock in the morning doing all kinds of stuff. Haven't heard the dog man the rest of the night. He went off. He let us know, yeah, I'm still here on this side of the woods. And I swear to God, as soon as he went off, I felt like he was talking to me, telling me, yes, I'm still here. Don't come down here. All right. So now it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm all amped up because it's a full moon and everything, and it's Halloween again. And Sean is freezing his butt off. He's like, "Can we go?" And I was like, "Yeah, we could go." So we hiked down off the trail, and again, we have these stone walls that run in all different directions, and we get down off of the mountain, and we get down to the Appalachian Trail, and we're on the Appalachian Trail, and we just hike down this little hill, maybe 50 feet, and we're by the lake. It's a 52-acre lake, and we come down off the trail. We got these powerful headlamps going. They're like 700 lumer. They're insane. They're really, really bright. We don't see anything. I don't see any eye shine. I don't see anything. We get off that we're hiking down. We go down this little hill, and man, the dog man comes out of nowhere. I do not know where he came from because I'm telling you, we were 50 feet away. How long does it take to walk 50 feet downhill? Not very long. Okay. and the dog man goes off again. And Sean is behind me, and this thing is so powerful that it goes through Sean's body and it hits me like a tidal wave. Boom. And I turn around and I look at Sean, and Sean's eyes are as big as saucers. And he turns around. He goes, Dog man. I go, Dog man. And we turn around and we're looking to where this scream just came from. Literally 50 feet away, up on this little hill, dead center of the Appalachian Trail. That's where the sound came from, dead center. And there's nothing there. And Sean is saying, do you think it jumped down behind that little wall and hiding? I said, I don't know, Sean. I don't know if it jumped behind that little wall and hiding, or if it jumped off the side of the mountain. It's leaning against the cliff, blending in with the trees and the roots and everything. I don't know, but I know it was there. So how long did it take us to turn around? 3 seconds, and it's gone, you know? And we're looking everywhere. We have our headlamps on spot. We have our headlamps on flood to get as much light all over the place. We don't see it anywhere. And I don't know where it is. And it's funny because I told this story to another podcaster, and he said to me, he said, Al, did you ever take an account that it was still there, just invisible? It went into a stealth mode. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, for some reason, that thought never crossed my mind. If it would have crossed my mind that night, I would have been looking for a shimmer or something, in the light. But I thought that it really had jumped behind that wall to hide. But why stand up in the middle of the trail, scream down? If it wanted to, it could have jumped off that little hill and landed on both of us and took us both out. There's no doubt in my mind it could have done that. Um, and I said the thought never crossed my mind that it was still there, but I wasn't going back up the hill to look for it either. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I told my cousin Sean, I said, look, we have 50-pound packs on backpacks on. I said, we're 4 miles from the car, 4.5 miles from the car. Normally, I'm 63 years old. I'm not a spring chicken. Normally, I take a break every mile for some water or if I have to relieve myself. I told Sean, we're hiking out of here tonight and we're not stopping because the last thing I want is for that thing to flank us and get in front of us. And we got to fight our way out because there's only one way in and one way out on this Appalachian Trail. And this trail where we were at is like a goat trail. You know what I mean? I'm wider than the trail itself. And all we got are the 18-inch machetes, the 10-inch survival knives, and the pepper spray. And we hiked out of there, and there was a lot of crap that happened on the way out, but we could feel its energy behind us, driving us forward, but we couldn't see it. Couldn't see it. And that is the first time I've experienced a dogman back at that location in all the years that I've been going there. And it was all because that thought came into my head and he heard that thought. There's no doubt in my
Now,
mind about it.
now, when you went to the den and you said you urinated out there, and then you said this dog man came back and urinated on your property. How far is from your place from that den?
Oh, I would say, maybe 10, 15 miles, but you can go from that location to my house, um, basically stay in woods or farmland. And never have to be on the main street. You know what I mean? The main drag and all the up here where I live, all of these little main streets off of like the main road off the truck routes. None of them have we don't have any sidewalks and we don't have any street lamps. So all of these little side streets are pitch black. So it could go from my house to there and basically stay in woods and farmland all the way there and not be seen, especially, in the dead of night.
Right. And I asked
Yeah.
that question because I mean, I've heard, like I said, I've heard so many stories of these creatures. they were able to follow people. It seems like once you get on these things radar, they sometimes just be a consistent problem. Like I've heard people even try to get away from these creatures because from what you said, you were miles away from the den. I mean, I've heard people try to move from different states and was still having problems with the same creature that they encountered from states back. So, I mean, these creatures, to me, I believe these creatures are physical, both flesh and blood. I mean, I believe there's different variants of these dog, man. But uh, I feel like most eyewitnesses who don't really know much about dogmen, they just look at the physical part. I feel like there's a spiritual aspect about them too, because I mean, we've heard multiple stories where people they look at tracks like in the snow or whatever, then suddenly the tracks disappear. So that at least lets to tell me how these things are interdimensional. I mean, like you talked about, they're capable of telepathy, mind speak after some eyewitnesses reports, people have reported having repeated nightmares of these creatures coming in their dreams, and it caused even more terrors. I know in Germanic folklore, there's this demon named Mayer, where it comes inside people's dreams to cause night terrors and also to cause sleep paralysis. That's where the term nightmare originally came from.
Okay.
Uh, and I mean, I've heard reports of people saying they felt overwhelming dread more than they were supposed to feel emitting from these creatures. People talked about they feel hatred, anger coming from these entities, these dog men. So a lot of eyewitness testimonies talked about how they see their eyes glow. Some say they don't. Some just see an eye shine. But in a lot of reports we hear about them their eyes being able to glow this like their own light source. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and people will say as fast as it appears, it disappears. Um, People also talked about how these things are. I mean, like I said, I could just keep going. Like for the jet black, for like the jet black looking dog, man. It's so many things to where you can't categorize these entities with a natural creature. I mean, I've heard in multiple reports, even from a sheriff deputy and other people, where they flashed a flashlight at these jet black looking dog men, and it's like the dog man itself was absorbing the light.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like how can you explain that? Like and also with the infrasound, they're able to hit you with something invisible that no other animal can do, like this researcher who's no longer with us. I believe he was taken out by the powers that be. I'm pretty sure you know of him, Scott Carpenter. He
Sure.
said he said him and his buddy was out there squatching one time, and Scott got hit with the invisible force and infrasound. He said it was so powerful, almost made him drop to his knees. He said he felt very nauseated, felt real like he's about to get ready to vomit,
Yep.
and
Yep.
he said the next day he was urinating blood,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
he said he called his friend and asked him like, "Hey, did you urinate any blood?" And he said yes. Even though his friend didn't get hit as bad as he did, his friend said what he heard felt like a wind go right past him and hit Scott. So I mean, I've heard how when some people get hit with this infrasound, how they got really sleepy as well too. And I believe these creatures use these infrasounds to be able to hunt deer, elk, or other things, including the Sasquatch as well too. I'm
Yeah. No,
sure.
absolutely. I agree. I agree 100% with everything you said. Yep. I agree. I mean, um, I believe they're flesh and blood. When they're here in front of us, they're flesh and blood. I've spoken. I've been lucky enough to be invited to a couple symposiums over the years where I was able to sit at the same table with world-renowned psychics. And I always ask them all the same question, whether it's a male or a female psychic. I ask the same question: where do these creatures come from? And every single one of them has given me the same answer. They're interdimensional and they're flesh and blood when they're here, but just as quick as they're here, They could be in a different dimension. And like I said, I mean, I know people who've killed them. They can be killed. You know, if you put enough rounds in them, you can kill them. It's not. I know Native Americans have hunted them and killed them as well. The Native Americans say they walk in two worlds as well. I do a lot. I spend a lot of time at the Iroquois Museum here in New York. It's not far from my house, and they've gotten used to see me coming. When they see me coming, they know it's usually I got some kind of question about whether it's about the dog man or Bigfoot or something. Over the years, they see me coming, they just start laughing because they know what's coming from me. And because I always say it the same way. Let me ask you a question. I was like, Al, you got a lot of questions. I was like, let me ask you a question. But yeah, no, they're flesh and blood when they're here, but they're definitely interdimensional. There's no doubt in my mind. And like I said, recently I've had that experience with not only with the spiritual world, where I've asked them to do things telepathically and they have, but the same thing with the UFO. I've asked them telepathically to give me a sign and they flashed me. And now with the dog man, telepathically. They heard my thoughts. So all three of these things are connected via telepathic. They're telepathic, all three of them. And so that's one link to them. I believe there's other links as well, but I mean, yeah. But I also, like I said, I believe they're flesh and blood when they're here, and they can be killed. But I don't want to go to war with them. And I think the trick to surviving a dogman encounter without any PTSD is to just stay calm, cool, and collective and not let them scare the living crap out of you because they feed off of your fear. So if they feel like they can't scare you with their size and their claws and their teeth and their screams, which is terrifying. Believe me, it's terrifying, but you have to stay calm, cool, and collective, and you can't let them rattle you. Because if once they rattle you, that's it. That it's like a game to them, and they're going to constantly follow you, and they're constantly going to rattle to feed off of your fear. They really do. And like I said, I've had enough encounters now where and I don't know why I don't get rattled. I honestly don't. It's like something happens to me when the shit gets real. I don't know, everything just slows down for me, and I bring everything to a grinding halt, and I work it out, in my head. Like, okay, what do we do from here? Where do we go from here? Okay, we're gonna walk out of here at our own pace. You're not gonna, you're not gonna, you're not gonna scare us out of here. You're not gonna drive us out of here. We're not intimidated by you, but we're gonna leave out of respect for your home. We're going to leave, and you ain't gonna do shit about it. And we leave, and we turn our back to him, and we walk away at our own pace. We don't run. What's the last thing I tell people? Whatever you do, don't run. You can't outrun these creatures. You know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is get their prey drive going. Just walk out casually, and you'll be fine. And here I am, living proof of it. You know what I mean? I mean, some people may, uh, you know, disagree with me, but here I am.
And that's a powerful testimony, man. And I do want to, I do want to say this before we go on what my theory is and what these creatures could potentially be. I come from a biblical worldview, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this theory many a times. Like I said, I believe there's different variants of these dogmen and other cryptids. I think majority of the ones that many people are seeing are Nephilim, the Genesis 6 theory, where it talks about where the sons of God, the sons of God, the fallen angels came down interbred with the human woman, but we got lost books like the Book of Enoch, which
Yeah.
that many people,
The,
as
the
myself,
Book of Enoch explained a lot of stuff to me, man. Explained a lot. I had a lot of questions before I read the Book of Enoch. When I was done reading it, it answered a lot of my questions.
it did for me too. And
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because when the fallen angels came, when they fell, when they lost their first estate, they lost their glory and they became something the opposite. They became from holy to unholy. And when they lusted not only after the human woman and interbred with these different animals and stuff and created all these monstrosities, these animals were like their fathers. They had like unholy intentions. And I mean, it just makes sense because from all the encounters I've heard, people talked about how evil these things were. You know what I'm saying? And not some encounters are not as bad as others, but for the most part, I've heard so many stories where people say they just feel like they was touched with evil, or they talked about when I looked into the dog man's eyes, it was like it was looking into my soul. Or I've even heard people say like when I've encountered this entity, it was like as if I was in the face of judgment. Uh, it's just crazy, man. And in the Book of Giants, which is a part of, I believe, the Book of Enoch, the original Old Testament of the Bible. I mean, he talked about how these watchers they gathered 200 different species, from rams, goats,
Yep.
birds. So I mean that answers all the things that what people have been talking about, seeing for years for Goat Man, Mothman, and other things in the Book of Joshua, which I believe was another banned book from the Bible that was ripped out by the Vatican's a long time ago. It talks about how these fallen angels taught man gene splicing of different species. And we hear like the rumors of Dulce, New Mexico. Like I'm pretty sure you heard about Thomas Edwin Costello, the security officer
Yeah.
at the Dulce base in the late 1970s, and he talked about this level six. He talked about seven levels, but he talked about level six being called Nightmare Hall, and he's seen all these genetic hybrid experiment creatures from these 7 foot tall winged humanoids, a hairy looking beast that looked like a Bigfoot that mimic human words. Like we hear in a lot of cryptid encounters, how these things are able to mimic things, different
Yeah.
sounds, baby cries. The Bible also talks about they call some demons familiar spirits. And that's why they're able to do that, because demons are able to do stuff like that. They're able to take on forms of different sorts of shapeshifters. So, I mean, it explains a lot. I mean, I've heard of Dogman also be able to mimic different sounds. They might mimic like your brother, your sister, your mother to lure you out in the woods to I believe these things are taking people as well. I believe they're part of missing 411 cases. David Pilates, of course, you know of him too. He talked
Yeah, of
about
course.
the connections of these things. And of course, they being covered up as bear attacks. I got this book by Timothy Beckley called The UFO Silencers. And on the second page of that book, it talks about this incident that happened in 1967 in the Glacier National Park in Montana, and about these two hikers that were killed. And it was labeled as a grizzly bear attack, and how this men in black all of a sudden was there and showed up. So, I believe these powers are connected to a lot of these evilness. I mean, it's a connection to them just as much as these other things as well, because it seems like they're not just covering up UFOs, they're covering up all these cryptids and stuff. So, I mean, if my theory is right, if these things are evil, that would make these people evil as well. Because every time I hear about these men in black encounters, they're evil, and I believe from my research they're connected to secret societies, and I believe that they're working on this new world order agenda. Thomas Edwin Costello talked about it. Phil Schneider talked about it. It seems like everybody, all these whistleblowers who talk about this new world order agenda, ends up getting
Yeah.
killed.
Yeah.
And William Bill Cooper, the man who wrote "Behold the Pale Horse," even talked about these shadowy agencies coming after him. And he said one day he was on his motorcycle, and this black limousine comes and calls him again a car accident, and he had to get his leg amputated. And he said these two men in suits came to his hospital room and said, "Have you learned your lesson yet?" And he claimed he complied and he said, "Yes, I did." But after they left, he felt compelled to further investigate more because this did was just start him to do more because he said this is like more compelling evidence that what he was doing was good. Like he was hitting like the nail on something. And then next thing you know, later on, the cover story of his death was saying he got shot by a deputy shootout. That's how he died. And of course, like in your testimony, how these shadowy powers they're able to massacre as forms of officers or anybody. Um, just like what's his name? Uh, well, I got him on my introduction. I got him on my introduction. Uh, I can't even think right now.
That's all right, bro. It's okay. Everybody blanks out once in a while, especially when you're naming a bunch of people, like it's just too many people to name, when you start going down that road. So nah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're Nephilim. Honestly, I have no clue what they are. All I know is that the people who have these psychic abilities, and I know they're legitimate psychics. They're not just, boardwalk psychics trying to take you for a buck. These people are the real deal. This is what they tell me. And I know these people are connected to the other side. So I got to believe what they tell me. You know what I mean? So that's how I go. I go down the road with it. Again, do they have human DNA in their? Yeah, they have human DNA. They have canine DNA too, so um yeah, I mean it's crazy stuff. So somebody was playing with genetics and splicing DNA somewhere down the road. You know what I mean? So whether it was the fallen angels or if it was aliens or what, I don't know. I'm not privileged to that information. It's above my pay grade, but there's absolutely government agencies that are in the know of all of this stuff. So
I do want to ask you this because since you are a part of the MUFON group, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Joseph Jordan. What is your take on his research after his years of investigation on this whole alien phenomenon?
yeah, I got to be brutally honest with you. I don't know who he is. I'm
Okay,
not familiar with. I mean, there's so many people in the field, and so many people have come and gone over the years. I can't keep track of everybody. I'm just trying to survive in my own little world. But
right.
no, I don't know who he is.
Well, Joseph Jordan, he claimed he was a man. I mean, he showed his credentials as well. He was a big time investigator in the MUFON Mutual UFO Network who collected abductee cases because this thousand you guys collect thousands and thousands of reports of abductees. And he said one day he had this strange case of this person who claimed because she was a repeated abductee and she claimed that one of the only ways that she was able to stop her abduction was to call upon the name of Jesus Christ. And he thought that was odd. And he told one of his colleagues, he said, "Hey, I got a strange case here. I mean, have you heard of this?" And the other guy told him, he's like, "Oh yeah, we've heard of this already, but we don't really put much acknowledgement on these cases or whatever." Because what Joseph Jordan said, he said because this is what he said. He said because it goes against the belief of the whole New Age belief in the UFO stuff. But Joseph Jordan ended up dealing with a lot of his own cases with these people, and he said he collected over 500 cases of people who claimed they were Christians and they were only able to stop these UFO abductions using the power in the name of Jesus Christ. He made the connections because one of the common connections with the whole UFO phenomenon and demons usually happens at nighttime.
Yeah,
People
yeah, absolutely. I
people
mean,
wake
my two abductions experiences happened that night, so you know what I mean. And At that time in the woods, we lost 2 hours. I don't know if we were abducted or not. We had made a pact that we weren't going to be regressed. No one wanted to be regressed. But I became really, really good friends with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and Rosemary did regressions, and she lived not far from me in Connecticut. And I said, Rosemary, I want to do a regression. I know this is the night I want to do it about, but I don't want the other guys to know, because if it's a horror experience, I don't want them to have to relive it. I'll take that burden on myself. And at the time, she was doing a TV show out in California. She goes, Al, I'm out in LA doing a TV show. She goes, when I get back to on the East Coast, I'll give you a call. And she got back to the East Coast and she said, okay, give me like a month, because now she was doing a book tour, And she goes, give me a month and then I'll give you a call. You come to the house and we'll do it. I said, awesome. Absolutely. I can't wait. And then she passed away. So I never got it done.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because you said you guys lost 2 hours of time, and
Yeah.
I immediately thought about just UFO abduction.
Yeah, no, because when we got to the meadow, I did a time check and it was like 8:45 when we seen the UFO. When we got to the meadow, it was 9. And we called our psychic. I called my psychic down in Arkansas, and she told us what we were going to experience at the meadow. And it was pretty wild stuff. And I called her back because at one point, this is crazy. At one point, we heard a family coming down the Appalachian Trail. It's it's at night. It's like we thought it was like 9 o'clock at night, 9:30. And we heard a mother and father, two little kids laughing, giggling, kicking rocks, and they're coming down the Appalachian. Now, the Appalachian Trail opened up into the meadow. Here we are, three large grown men sitting in the meadow with weapons. So I said, let's put our headlamps on. So when these people come out, we don't scare the living crap out of them, because we got machetes and survival knives and all of that stuff. We don't want to scare them. And the sound came right out to the opening, but no one ever came out. So we went in looking for the family. We could hear two little kids talking. We could hear a mother and father talking. We went in and looked for them. There was nobody there. So we called the psychic back. And she says, why are you guys calling me so goddamn late? And I was like, what are you talking about? It's been like a half hour since we called you. It's like 9:30. She goes, Al, check your watch. It's 11:30. I was like, no, it's 9:30. And she goes, check your, and we all checked our watches and it was 11:30. But it seemed like we had just talked to her a half hour ago. And then we explained to her what we experienced. And she said we were in a time space continuum, and that family wasn't going to, obviously, is not there at night. They're going to be there tomorrow. We were some kind of time slip we experienced. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that missing time stuff ain't no joke. I've even heard about people experiencing that even with Bigfoot sightings as well too. And it's just like usually, when people have these encounters, they always describe this phenomenon. It's like I've heard you talk about. It's like it just seemed like time just slowed down,
Slows down.
and it seems like these creatures. It's like time works different with them. You know what I'm saying? Even with Otis T. Carr's flying saucer, Ralph Ring described a phenomenon where this craft, when they was inside of it, when they came back, he thought the crab didn't fly or anything. He was like, I don't remember us taking off or anything. And Otis had told him, he's like, when because he told them, he's like, when you go inside this craft, he said you're not gonna remember right away, but as time progresses, it'll come back to you. And then Ralph Ring was like, they started pulling things out of their pockets like sticks and rocks, and he was like, he says the memory starts to remember because he's like they flew 10 miles successfully and landed somewhere, and Otis told them to grab rocks and sticks and put them in your pockets so that they can remember. And so when they came back, their memory started coming back. He said he didn't remember it then, but afterwards he remembered it. But 2 weeks after the test flight, he said that their facility was raided by these FBI agents and told them and said, "You're under arrest for trying to overthrow the monetary system." And Otis T. Carr was thrown in jail, and they told Ralph Ring not to contact Carr. They confiscated the prototype crafts because he claimed that these crafts were operating on free energy because he claimed like the energy is all around us, electricity is all around us. And he's like, these crafts, you don't need to be by a power source like a light pole or a generator just for it to operate. He was saying that it operates on free energy. So he believed this technology would have got out to the world. There wouldn't be no need for us to be paying electricity bills or anything like that. So
Yeah, absolutely not.
that's why these powers came down and basically shut them down and stuff. Same thing with Mark Cummings. He was a guy that who was experimenting on free energy device on Tesla coils and stuff. And he was talking about these powers had raided his laboratory and other stuff. And he was later taken out as well too. I actually talked about these people in one of my documentaries that I posted earlier last or at the end of last month. And I just feel like that stuff is important for people to know because it's definitely a connection.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the government flies around in planes, especially with people who are living off grid, and they're monitoring these people in the woods with what you call thermal imagers and stuff like that. And if your your cabin is putting out a lot of heat, they'll send somebody there to look and see what you do because they don't want you living off grid on free energy. They just don't. And they come and like it was like back when they were going taking the stills from the bootleggers and busting up the stills. They'll come to your property and they'll take your whatever you've made that's creating free energy. They'll take it and they'll break it up and they'll take the design and everything else and they'll fine you like big money, and just so you won't do it again. And if you do it again the next time, they'll throw your ass in jail and forget about you. But there's actually government agents flying around over our heads in like these planes looking for stuff like this.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of them are flying in their own reverse engineering these so-called alien aircrafts as well. Like you said, how the Dogman is able to cloak. I believe these crafts all around us, really every day, they're cloaked in the skies and we just don't know it. But I mean, I've heard many people, if you buy some infrared binoculars and look in the skies, people are able to see orbs and UFOs and stuff in the sky that you wouldn't be able to see with the naked eye.
Oh
So
yeah, I got a pair of crazy IR binoculars. These things are absolutely insane. And we were up Lake George, upstate New York, on vacation last summer, and we went out in the middle of the night. We went to sit by the patio on the pool, and we looked up in the sky, and we didn't see nothing. Maybe one or two stars. And then I turned these binoculars on, and it just lit up like the Long Island Expressway, man. There was so much movement going on up above us. My wife lost her shit. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe
yeah,
it. She goes, I can't believe what is all that up there? It's like stuff we're not supposed to see.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. It's crazy. Well, we're coming up on some time, brother Al. Man,
Okay, brother.
you got some crazy experiences and activities. Oh, there is one story I want to hear before you go. I believe I heard this from you from a podcast. I think it happened when you're young, and like I said, refresh or tell the story correctly if I'm wrong, but I think you was on a farm or something, and your parents or somebody had a horse, and a Bigfoot had came and capped and ripped this horse's head off or something. Was that your story?
Oh no, that was when I was a kid down in South Florida when the Bigfoot killed the Brahma bull. But
Oh,
he also killed a pony out of my sister's friend, my sister's husband's friend's ranch, came in and he took the pony. He ripped the door off of the barn and ripped and took the pony out of the barn and snapped its neck and was carrying it off when they seen it and started shooting at it. And yeah, that's a long story, bro. I can't get into it now. I mean, if you want to bring me back, I'll talk about that story, but that's like another hour.
Okay, yeah, we could definitely set up a future interview for that. I would love to hear that.
Yeah,
Brother Al,
absolutely. And anytime you want, dude, just reach out to me. You got me, bro.
absolutely, Brother Al, it was an honor having you come on the show, man. And
No, the honor's all mine. Thank you for inviting me on, man. Absolutely.
yeah, not a problem. And I pray you take care of yourself. Keep doing what you're doing. I love that you have a passion of doing what you're doing, and you're able to go out in the woods again, and be able to be comfortable with God's creations. I feel like we all should be able to enjoy it. No government agency has jurisdiction over the truth, and they don't have a right to tell anybody what they can and can't do. It's because this isn't their world. They might own a lot of things and stuff, but one day they just like us. They got to die one day. They got to face the creator.
Yeah,
Everybody.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I got something I'm working on something right now out of the UK. It's a UFO thing, man. It is off the hook, bro. Let me tell you. Oh my God, it's insane, but I can't really talk about it now. But as time goes on, maybe I could talk about it. But right now it's so new that I really can't discuss it. But man, it's crazy, crazy.
But keep me in the loop, brother. I'd love
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. I will definitely keep you in the loop, without a doubt.
All right, brother Al. You have a good rest of the night, brother. And like I said, you got my connection. So just hit me up anytime you feel free to want to share something with me, man. And
Okay.
we'll lock in.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. You have a good rest of the night.
Go Cowboys.
Cowboys. Yeah,
I'll talk to you.
I live in
Okay.
Texas, but I'm not even a Cowboy fan. But I mean, there's a
Uh-oh.
lot of Cowboy
Who,
fans out here.
who, well, you're in Dallas, right?
Yeah, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, so you're a Lions fan.
I know what you're about to say. We never made it to the Super Bowl or nothing,
No,
but
no, no. I mean, they got a good team, without a doubt, without a doubt. I'm just anytime I talk to anybody from Texas, I always say go Cowboys because I've been a Cowboy fan all my life. Everybody used to tell me when I was a kid, how could you like the Cowboys? You live in New York. I said, the Cowboys are a New York team. And they used to say, what the hell are you talking about? I said, they're on TV as much as the Giants and the Jets, bro. They're a New York team. Everybody thought I was nuts.
I will say this about living in Texas: they take their football out here very seriously.
Oh, very serious. Friday nights, absolutely.
I respect them.
All right, Malcolm. Thank you very much, man. And anytime you want me, you just reach out to me, and we'll definitely talk about that you skunk ape incident in 74. Okay, next time.
Absolutely. All right, Al. You have a good night.
You too, brother.
All right. Thanks.
Ciao.